Good morning, sir and ma'am. I welcome you all in this online lecture series on the auspicious day of International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women. And Honorable Justice Shri Ved Prakash Sharma sir has already joined. We will start the proceeding on at 11 after 2 minutes. So I request all the participants to please start your video so that we can see each other. And I request all of you to please be attentive and be participative. Please involve in the lecture series and kindly share your views with the Honorable Justice Sir at the last when we will have the question answer session. And before and during the presentation, I request you to please keep your mic mute so that the sound quality will be better and it will be good for all the participants. Thank you so much.
अरे भाई यार ये कैसे 50 रुपए दीजिए मुझे भाई ये गलत जुड़ गया यार मैं तो मतलब
Respected Director Sir, Director CAPT Shri Pawan Srivastav, IPS, respected Honorable Justice Shri Ved Prakash Sharma Sir, today's guest speaker for this lecture series, all the learned participants and fellow officers of CAPT, I welcome you all in this online lecture series on 25th of November, the International Day to eliminate violence against women. So I welcome you all. And today is a very important day. CAPT has assigned the duty of National Center for Prosecution, and we are providing training to all the police officers and prosecutors, especially in the field of women safety. Honorable Union Home Minister Sir Shri Amit Shah Sir has created a wing in the Home Minister Department, Union Home Ministry, where the wing is a National Mission for Safety of Women. And under this wing, we are conducting many training programs for the safety of women and children. And today we are conducting a lecture series. And the purpose of this lecture series is to eliminate violence and to enhance the capabilities of all the stakeholders who are dealing with this uh, crime against women and children, whether it is police officer or prosecutors or judges or scientific officers or any stakeholder, whether they are medical legal experts. So we are providing training to all the stakeholders. So today is a very important day, and we are very thankful to Honorable Justice Sir that he has spared his valuable time for this lecture series. And I thank all the participants also for joining this lecture series online. Uh, uh, Till now, we have 233 participants with us, and meanwhile, other will also join, and we are starting today's proceeding. First of all, I want to introduce our Honorable Director, Shri Pawan Srivastav Sir, with all of you. Sir was born in Devaria in Eastern UP on 28th of December 1965. He completed his undergraduate and postgraduate studies at Allahabad University and pursued MPhil in oceanography in the School of Environmental Science from JNU. Subsequently, he joined the Indian Police Service in the year 1992, Madhya Pradesh cadre. He has served as Superintendent of Police in Jhabua, Narsinghpur, Guna, and Bhopal district of Madhya Pradesh. He has also commanded the 1st, 7th, and 15th Battalion of Madhya Pradesh Special Armed Forces as DIG. He was on deputation to the Madhya Pradesh Department of Culture as the head of the department. He also served as DIG Indore Range and IG at RFPTC Indore, Riva Zone and SF Indore Zone. On promotion as additional DG, he joined the BPR&D and was posted as Director of CAPT in the year 2017. His professionalism, excellent communication skill, meaningful training, deep knowledge of policing, and a passion for continuous learning enabled the CAPT to achieve new heights in the field of training. CAPT has won the Union Home Minister Trophy for Best Police Training Institute in India for the year 2019-20. His flexibility, creativity, and scientific vision enabled him to develop a mobile app for crime scene photography and videography. He developed SOP for crimes in photography and videography. Sir has received various medals, like he is recipient of the President Police Medal for Distinguished Service, President Police Medal for Meritorious Service, United Nations Mission in Kosovo Peacekeeping Medal. He is also the recipient of the Chief Minister Pistol for excellent work in the reduction of Dacoity, and recently he has awarded with the Union Home Minister Medal for his contribution in the field of police training for the year 2019-20. So I thank Honorable Director Sir to join this lecture series. And now I would like to request Honorable Director Sir for their inaugural speech. Respected Sir.
Good morning, everyone. I trust I'm both visible as well as audible to you.
Yes, sir, you are audible and visible, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, I welcome you all here on this lecture series on elimination of violence against women. This is our uh, endeavor that we would organize our alumni and would ensure to organize one lecture series almost every month, so the on a pertinent topic on a day which has been declared as one particular day by the United Nations. So today being the United Nations Day against reduction of violence against women, so that is why we have organized this program. Now, not a day passes, you see, when we have not heard of some form of violence. Uh, if you see the television these days, almost on an everyday basis, you happen to get some kind of negative news insofar as women are concerned. So we start with the Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, which says it specifies that the state shall not deny to any person or the citizen of society equality before the law and equal protection of law shall be given within the territory of India. So Article 14, no, it is right to equality. The um, uh, first fundamental right that we Indians have. Point is this, that even though it has not been spelled out there very clearly, but insofar as law is concerned, insofar as the constitution is concerned, insofar as the Indian polity is concerned, men and women are equal. But that is not so when we see the society that in which we live. We have seen violence right in front of our eyes, maybe in our families, maybe elsewhere, wherein a woman has been, beaten unabashedly by the husband, by the father, by the men folk, whosoever. We have seen it from our own eyes. One part is that, and the other part is what we see today about the Shraddha murder case or the Nirbhaya case. Or, I mean, those are the extremes of violence against women. So there is a study which has been done by Oxfam, which says that 1 in 3 women, which is 35%, close to 35%, will experience some form of violence during their lifetime, which equates to about 1 billion women worldwide. There's some other statistics also. 35% of women will experience violence at the hands of their current or former partners in their lifetime. यानी अपने अपने करंट पार्टनर के साथ या जो फ्यूचर पार्टनर है उसके साथ उनका लड़ाई झगड़ा मारपीट होनी ही होनी है. Around 650 million women alive today were married as children. ये वर्ल्ड वाइड बता रहे हैं. वर्ल्ड वाइड 650 मिलियन, 65 लाख लोग, लड़कियां 15 साल से कम उम्र में उनकी शादी हुई थी. 200 million women and girls have undergone female genital mutilation. खतना जानते हैं आप लोग. So genital mutilation 200 million. कितना हो गया? 20 लाख लेडीज. और जो ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग की बात हम लोग करते हैं, 71% ऑफ ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग रिलेट्स और द विक्टिम्स ऑफ ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग आर ladies, girls. So the amount of violence that is happening right beneath our nose is tremendous. The point is that most of the time, only when it is reflected in the newspapers or the news channels, then only we take cognizance of it. But this is something which is, the soft underbelly of the society. It is happening everywhere. Maybe if not right in front of our eyes, but it is happening every day. And what can we do about it? The government of India, the United Nations, everyone is trying their level best. They have enacted certain laws. About 155 countries have enacted laws to prevent violence against women. So there is a tremendous lot that we can do, but we as a society have to work hard. We have to do something so that there is not only a genuine reduction in violence, but actually elimination of violence against women. So for that very reason, we have tried to, um, uh, flag this issue. We have tried to collect you all, and I see a large number of ladies also joining this lecture series. Thank you, ladies. Uh, Together, not only the ladies, but us menfolk, together we have to resolve that we would reduce violence against women in our society. Then only our society would be more egalitarian, it would be more equal. So, with those words, I welcome you all again in this lecture series. Um it is going to be very, very interesting. There would be certain examples which would be shared with you, and then there would certain strategies would be shared with you wherein we can reduce the violence against women. With those words, thank you so very much, Prakash, for organizing this program. It is a very, very welcome initiative. Thank you so much.
Uh, Thank you so much, sir, for providing insight to this worldwide issues, a burning
Huh?
challenge for all the
Yeah.
stakeholders who are dealing with the crime against women and children. Thank you so much, sir, and for sharing all the important
नहीं,
data
लो
of
हमको
this
भेज देंगे
crime.
बिल.
Now, I would like
बोलो
to
साले किस बात पे बिल?
introduce Honorable Shri
बोलो किस बात?
Justice Ved Prakash Sharma sir with all of you. Sir, Justice Ved Prakash Sharma sir joined the Madhya Pradesh Judicial Service in the year 1983. He was posted as Registrar General of High Court of Madhya Pradesh, and subsequently he was appointed as Judge of the High Court of Madhya Pradesh on 7th of April 2016 and retired on 1st of January 2018. He has also served as chairperson of the State Law Commission, and he is a very renowned personality in the field of legal studies. And we have invited him in other training programs of CAPT also, and we are very fortunate that this time also Sir has spared his valuable time for this important lecture series. So thank you so much, sir, and over to you, sir. Honorable Justice, sir. Sir, now you can unmute yourself, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Right.
please. Yes.
Okay. I think I am visible as well as audible.
Yes, sir. You are visible and audible, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Very good morning to all of you. Sri Pawan Srivastava ji, Director, Central Academy of Police Training Bhopal. Mr. Anshuman Singh, Deputy Director. Sri Prakash Budhalia ji, Assistant Director. All the participants who are virtually connected in this meeting from different places. Friends, 25th November is being observed as International Day for Elimination of Violence against Women. So, it provides us an occasion to discuss and deliberate upon certain very important issues pertaining to violence against women in different forms, as well as how we have traveled so far eliminated. Before going into the nitty-gritty of the subject, I would like to just put a question as to why we observe or celebrate certain things. What is the purpose behind it? So, when we celebrate Independence Day, then obviously the purpose may be to remember those who fought for the freedom and the values and ideals which were there behind the struggle of independence. Now, it's not something a formal lesson. Rather, it invites us to look into various dimensions of this problem in an informal manner. At the same time, also considering what may be our role and responsibility. I would like to approach the entire subject from 5 angles. Firstly, we would like to understand what has been the status of violence against women globally and nationally. Then the next point to consider may be how the global community responded to this serious problem and how the national laws and the constitutional mandate responded to it. Then thirdly, we would like to examine as to whether there has been any perceptible impact of various efforts so far that has been made in this direction. And as we will just discuss, there has been a very marginal impact. As a matter of fact, the problem is day by day increasing. So then, naturally, we need to discuss and deliberate upon various reasons as to why the constitutional and the legislative regime not been able to address the problem in a wholesome manner. And what may be the way ahead? How we are supposed to conduct in this entire scenario. As was pointed out by the respected director of the academy, that the problem of violence against women is not something of recent time.
Sir, please unmute yourself, sir. Once again, sir. Sir, please unmute yourself. Sir, kindly unmute yourself, sir. Please unmute yourself.
I think there was something technical issue. I think I was not, I was automatically unmuted. Am I audible now? Udalia ji?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
So, we're talking about the enormity, intensity, and gravity of the problem with regard to violence against women within and without the four walls of the house. As per a recent report of the United Nations Organization, in 2017, 50,000 women were killed worldwide, either by the near or dear ones or by the family members. That goes to almost 137 deaths per day, leading to 6 deaths per hour. It is indeed very alarming. Because what I am speaking about, in all such 50,000 cases, the women were killed not by the persons general way, rather the family members, including husband or in-laws, etc. This simply gives us the view that to what extent the females are vulnerable in the world society. When it comes to India, though we have been throughout talking and singing about the values of our glorious past, which pronounced that yatra naryastu pujyate ramante tatra devta. But then, unfortunately, with the passage of time, there has been degradation and erosion of social value to such an extent that while at one point of time we used to worship them, and still we worship them in the shape of various incarnations, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Kali, but still we are not giving due respect to them inside the family or at the other place. We know how the issue with regard to the harassment of women at workplace went to the Supreme Court because there was no legislative mandate in that regard. And the Supreme Court has to issue certain guidelines in Visakha's case. So, I have a recent report from a case which is pending before Honorable the Supreme Court of India that has been filed by the NGO We the Women. And they have prayed for issuance of directions to the government and other authorities with regard to effective implementation of Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. Now, as per a report of India Today, back in September 2022, the National Legal Services Authority submitted before the Apex Court the statistics about the cases relating to domestic violence. And You will be surprised that 4,71,000 original cases are pending before various courts in this country relating to the issue of domestic violence. And here, we cannot be oblivious to the fact that when 10 women are subjected to some sort of domestic violence, then hardly 3 or 4 approach the system, the justice dispensation system. So if we just try to find out the reality, it may be more than 10, 15 lakh cases relating to domestic violence. This shows the magnitude of the issue of violence against women. Now, this violence is all pervasive in all in many fields, in service sector, in various other organizations, and inside the house. When Mr. Pudholia asked me to discuss and deliberate on this issue, then I suggested that, of course, there are various matters with regard to violence against women. But then the highest percentage of violence against women which we find in India is the domestic violence, for which we have been trying at various levels, of course not in a very effective manner, contain this situation. So, question arises as to what response has been there globally with regard to elimination of violence against women, and how we as a nation have responded to this problem. Now, it was in 1979 that for the first time, the attention of the world community focused on the issue of discrimination and violence against women. And in 1979, the United Nations Organization passed a convention which is called Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW. And that is considered to be the Magna Carta as far as the rights of the women, as well as the ways to prevent discrimination and violence against them is concerned. In 1980, a group of activists started observing 25th November as International Day for Elimination of Violence. Soon thereafter, in 1993, the United Nations Organization again sprung into action, and considering the situation that all sorts of violence is still being perpetuated against women, a declaration was passed known as Declaration on the Elimination of Violence Against Women. And this declaration proposed that each and every member nation should strive hard by improving the legislative framework by, 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 by making the system more effective so that the violence against women is eliminated. This declaration also outlined a role for the civil society, for the NGOs. Thereafter, on 7th February 2000, the United Nations formally acknowledged to observe 25th November as International Day for the elimination of violence against women. Friends, an organization like UNO has its own limitations. Direct action is not permanent. Ultimately, it is for the member states to take action, to implement the strategy, and to find out results. So, the question arises how we as a nation have responded to the situation in the backdrop of the call given by the United Nations organization. Now, it was 1946 that Constituent Assembly started working on the Constitution of India. And it was sometimes 1948 that Universal Declaration of Human Rights was made on 10th of December. Due to the framing of the Constitution and the Declaration, Universal Declaration on Human Rights almost coincided. And therefore, the values which were there in the international, Declaration on Human Rights also found place in the Constitution of India. The preambular mandate defined in the preamble of the Constitution is very clear. The mandate is to keep intact the dignity of the individual. And when we speak about the dignity of the individual, dignity of women is implied in it, and rather it is more implied. The reason being that, of course, there has been incidents with regard to the violation of dignity of all sorts of people, but by and large, the women folk are the worst sufferers. Now, apart from the preamble, Article 14 of the Constitution of India mandates that states shall not discriminate against any person on the ground of sex, race, reason, religion, faith, etc. So that mandate again is with regard to giving equality to the women and eliminating discrimination as well as violence. Then comes Article 15 of the Constitution of India. And Article 15 again mandates that there should not be any discrimination against the woman. Article 15, Clause 3 gives the power to the state to enact special laws for protection of the women and children. Apart this, we can also refer to Article 21 of the Constitution of India, which has been said to be the soul of the Constitution. Though the declaration made in this article is very brief, that no one shall be deprived of his life or liberty without following the procedure established by law. Very simple declaration, very simple promise. But then, when Honorable the Supreme Court of India interpreted Article 21 vis-a-vis the right to life and liberty, they said that the, the procedure established by law should not only be a legislative procedure, it should also be reasonable, just. So this much we find in Part 3 of the Constitution of India, which relates to fundamental rights. And if we go to Part 4, relating to fundamental duties, then Article 51A, 51(1)(e) is there, which says that all the citizens shall not practice anything which is derogatory to the dignity of the woman. So that way, we have a very complete framework, constitutional framework for protection of the women, and that is to the extent that state has been mandated to frame or enact special laws to protect the women from discrimination, violence, or any other social practice which is derogatory to their dignity. Now, it was in 1961. We know our society suffers from a very, very deep-rooted malignancy, and that is the evil of dowry. It may not be inept to say that this evil of dowry has been by and large responsible in our society for various sorts of discrimination and violence against women. The Parliament, considering the impact of this evil, enacted in 1961 a law that is known as Dowry Prohibition Act 1961. This act defined what is dowry, taking or demanding money or any kind of property before the marriage, at the time of marriage, or even after the marriage is dowry. And an offense was created which stipulates that demanding dowry or paying dowry, both are offense punishable with imprisonment up to 3 years. Now, this law remained there on the statute book almost for 22 years. It is still today on the statute book. But I say 22 years because it was in 1983 that a review was made with regard to impact of this. And in 1983, the Parliament, in its wisdom, decided to amend the Indian Penal Code and the Indian Evidence Act. A new offense, cruelty against women, was added by way of Section 498A, and at the same time, Section 113A was added in the Indian Evidence Act to raise a presumption about abatement to commit suicide against husband and is family members. And that was considering the fact that there were numerous cases in which the bride was committing suicide within the four walls of in-laws' house. So the legislature thought that it is very difficult to collect evidence of any sort of discrimination, harassment, atrocity, or violence which is being perpetuated inside the house. Therefore, they raised the presumption that if the death of a married woman takes place within 7 years of marriage, and it is shown that she was subjected to cruelty or violence, then the court may presume that the husband or his relatives abetted this married lady to commit suicide. This is 1983. But then again it was said that it is not having the desired effect. And how to come to know that it is not having the desired effect? The incidents of this death after marriage were gradually increasing. The incidents of cruelty also increased. So it could be discerned very easily that neither Section 498A of IPC nor Section 113A of Evidence Act has any perceptible impact on our society as regards infliction of violence, harassment, and discrimination is concerned. So 1986, the parliament again is sprung into action, and a new offense was added in the Indian Penal Code known as dowry death. Section 304B was inserted in the Indian Penal Code, which deals with the offense of dowry. And at the same time, Section 113B was also added in the Evidence Act. And now the court was bound to presume dowry death by husband or relatives if it is demonstrated before the court, if it is proved before the court, firstly, that the married woman committed suicide, the married woman died in unnatural circumstances within 7 years of marriage, and that soon before her death, she was being subjected to cruelty regarding demand of dowry. We have all these provisions on the statute book. Gradually, the legislature thought that by increasing the seriousness of the offense, by increasing the punishment for the offense, these offenses will vanish. But then, this is not nearing truth. Because we just try to analyze the impact of all these legislations, then we will find that the incidents of harassment and violation against married women are increasing year by year. And there has not been any substantial decrease in such incidents. That can be well gathered from certain statistics which are available with us. And one of the statistics as provided by the Family Health Survey conducted by the Government of India for 2015 and 2016. It just came out with a very startling revelation. it pointed out that 37% of married women between the age group of 15 to 49 are subjected to harassment or cruelty inside the house. 37% of the married women. And it is again something to inform that there are many women who silently suffer the harassment or the cruelty or the violence or the indignity which are perpetuated against them. They don't even speak that it is happening. So this shows that firstly the broad framework of law beginning from the constitutional promise contained in the preamble of the Constitution, traveling through part 3 and part 4 of the Constitution, and then legislative mandate contained in Dowry Prohibition Act 1961 and subsequent amendments in the Indian Penal Code have not the desired impact on the social side. As per data provided by the National Crime Records Bureau, in 2018, 104,165 cases of cruelty against women were registered in the country. More than 1 lakh. And you see in the next year, in 2019, it almost rose by 25%. The number of offences registered under Section 498A, that is the offence of cruelty against married women, they were 1,25,009. So you see that on the one hand, we are enacting the laws. The laws stipulate harsher penalty, punishment for those who inflict cruelty or violence against women, and still the offences are increasing. In my humble view, there are two reasons for it. Firstly, that gradually the women are starting to assert themselves as an individual, meaning thereby, in many cases, they are refusing to be subjected to violence and torture. And once you see, when it is just going on in the society, and once you refuse, then there is more torture, more violence, more discrimination. And that way, these offenses are coming. And secondly, we must be frank to admit that the entire system of law has not worked in a manner so as to have the desired impact. Or I will say rather, so as to have a deterrent effect on those who have the mentality to go for such type of crime. And this demands that we should consider, we should examine, and we should analyze various factors which are ultimately responsible for such situation. If law is not able to handle the problem, you see the sentence prescribed for dowry death, life imprisonment, or sentence of death, still the offences are going on. So, in a online program like this may be very apt and relevant to carefully examine ultimately why the law is not working. Ultimately, what is that which continues to increase the level of violence, harassment, indignity, atrocity against. Now, in my considered view, there are these five very very specific factors which may be said to be responsible for lukewarm impact of law that has been made since 1961. And the first thing which is very important in this regard is the social and individual attitude vis-a-vis with the women. Now, you see, India lives in villages, still it lives in villages. And in villages, there is very little communication with regard to the laws, their impact, and the conventional attitude and approach, considering the women fall a bit inferior to men, is still prevails. And if we do not change this attitude, if we do not inculcate in our mind, in our philosophy, in our ideas that equality is the basis which should be there to deal with the female and male, we shall not be able to contain this evil of violence against men. Because if it is there in our mind, no, they are inferior. No, they have to be put under subordination. There are still families which do not allow education for the girls. They say, what you do for education? Let the elementary knowledge is sufficient. Let they should know how to handle the kitchen and how to handle the house, and then let them be married and then be left at their own fate. That is the situation. Of course, in some progressive families, the stress on the education of the girl child is as much as that of the male child. But then, majority of the population is living in the areas where it is not happening. So, first and foremost thing is to consider about this attitudinal change. And I would like to add that this attitudinal change towards women should be at all levels, not only at the social level, it should be also at the level of the duty holders. I have been given to understand that many prosecution officers and police officers are participating in this webinar. So it is also necessary that they examine what is their attitude. And if they find that there is something wrong or is something missing, then that has to be corrected. Because if correctional approach with regard to attitude is not there at all levels of the society, then this engine of reform with regard to this the status and the violence which is being inflicted It is not going to stop. So the first thing is the attitude. Now, the second thing, and which is you see very important correlated factor, that is the empowerment of the woman. The natural laws are there. Of course, we as human beings have progressed a lot and try to just reform the things, reform the system, reform the approach. But ultimately, you see, certain natural rules work. And if the women continue to be weak socially, economically, educationally, and politically, then definitely the things are not going to improve in the manner we expect or in the manner the Lord desires. Now, social empowerment is something which should start with the change of the attitude and should go further by considering them equal in all respects. And that should be with regard to the education and employment. It is because of the education and because of some reform in the attitude and approach of some pockets of the society which have been able to see little more education, that they are providing best education to their girl children. And that is the reason that in the last batch of the civil judges in the Madhya Pradesh, the number of females was more than the number of males who qualified for judge. You see, if we just do the things in the right manner, at the right pace, in the right direction, then the desired results are bound to follow. So this is social empowerment, educational empowerment, and it definitely by itself to a considerable extent leads to economic empowerment. And if all these things are there, then political empowerment is bound to be there. We see that our president, Honorable the President of India, comes from the most depressed and backward part of the country. And still because of the political empowerment have raised to the highest place in the political system of our nation, president. So that way, if we proceed in our attitudinal refinement, in empowerment of the women, right from the childhood, with regard to education, with regard to social status, with regard to economic status, with regard to political status, then we will definitely see a change in the state of the things, particularly that can be helpful in if not eliminating, is to a considerable extent reducing this violence and discrimination and harassment of women, particularly inside the four walls of the house. Then the third thing which comes to my mind, I've been associated almost for 40 years with the law. And I understand that the law enforcement system is still very weak today. Now, how we just see the law enforcement system? Crime is committed. Suppose harassment or violence is there against a married woman. Now, how she should approach the police station? Who is going to help her? Maybe that the parents are far away. That is the first problem. Then if she gathers the courage to go to the police for some sort of support, legal support, then I may be excused from saying. What is the first advice given to that women by the police officers? Just try to sort out the matter. It is a घरेलू matter. Don't escalate it. Try to adjust. Try to accommodate. Now you see who comes to the police station, not by the simple some sort of harassment. When it reaches a level that it becomes intolerable, only then a person goes to the police station. And if she is sermonized that no, don't just go on this path, don't spoil the family. You see, there are children, there are husband. So please try to. So then it is simply asking her in an indirect manner that continue to bear the violence which is being inflicted upon you. That has to change. Then investigation. Now, what sort of priority and primacy is given to the investigation of cases relating to harassment of the woman? Very little. Very little, and that's why the evidence is most of the time very ineffective. Now, in 2015, the Parliament brought with a quasi-civil, quasi-criminal law. And the idea behind the law was less to punish the wrongdoer and more to support the married women who is or has been subjected or is being subjected to harassment or cruelty or violence. And this legislation, which is quite comprehensive in the sense that it deals with all type of violence, sexual violence, physical violence, verbal violence, psychological violence, all type of violence. And it stipulates protection orders in favor of the female, so that he can at least live peace. Now, as I told you earlier, more and more women are approaching the court, approaching the system to have protection under this Act of 2015. And that's why there are large number of cases. But then again, the system is little insensitive. Insensitive in the sense that if something has to be done at first level, then that is not being done in that very way. So the person who has approached the system, who is trying to access the justice delivery process, he thinks that, oh, is it really helpful to me? Whether I'm going to have some sort of support or protection under the law, or it is again just indulging in some sort of activity which is going to create further harm. So if the law enforcement system becomes little sensitive, then there can be a change in the situation. And if such change is there, then definitely, on the one hand, more and more victims will approach the system for redress of their grievance. That will be the first thing. And secondly, those who indulge in such type of activities, or those who, as a matter of fact, inflict violence or harassment, they will be discouraged. And I would like to say that there should be all-round action. If it is found that they have committed cruelty, punishable under Section 498, then they should not be seen. Because if there is an all-round action to discourage all this, then only we can have desired impact. And then law can prove to be effective and efficient. Then, same time, the process of delay in dispensation of justice is again rather very serious. You see, there are cases in which the spouse has filed a case for matrimonial relief, maybe divorce, maybe judicial separation. It takes years and years together. Suppose we start litigating at the age of 25, and it may be that at the age of 45 you find the final result. 20 years. So all the, you see, the prime time of your life is wasted in just litigating for a cause. Sort of discouragement to go to the justice redressal system or to access the justice, very difficult. And for this, I think those who are duty holders in the judicial system, particularly the judges and the prosecutors, they have to be little more proactive. You see, whenever it comes to the court, a case of murder is given highest priority because someone has lost his life. And a case of 498A, it becomes secondary. Simply waiting that another life is lost. So if we just go by the in a time-bound manner that justice is readily given, the system is sensitive, the system is responsive, all the duty holders, right from the first point where a report or complaint is made with regard to the violence or harassment, if they are sensitive, then definitely the law may have more impact. And the evil of this violence against women, particularly married women, can be curtailed, can be eliminated to a good extent. That is something very. Now, here comes the role of civil society. It has always been said that law is simply a tool in the hands of those who are willing to use it and are able to pay the price to use the tool. And you know, this price is very exorbitant. You have to engage a lawyer. You have to engage persons who can support you. And therefore, if the civil society springs into action and involves itself in a proactive manner, then definitely the things can improve to the extent that there is desired impact of the legal regime. When I speak about civil society, then I think each one of you should have in your mind NGOs which are working in our country. And it has been revealed many a times by various agencies, including government, that 70% of these non-governmental organizations which are receiving huge financial support from the government and other agencies are rather defunct, or they are self-serving organizations, SSO, instead of NGO. So when I speak of the civil society, then I mean firstly the educated class, including law students who have a little more understanding about the legal nitty-gritty, and they can be more helpful in comparison to ordinary person. Then, secondly, those who are, you see, little elite class of the society. Elite class means that they have reached a higher level in the social strata and therefore are in a position to do something for the society. So, if some sort of, you see, social groups, social service groups are constituted, and that is, I think, provided in the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. But you see, here everything happens to a good extent on paper and to a little extent in practice. If you can just reverse the situation, with good extent in the field, good extent in the practice, then it is going to shape the entire, to change the entire scenario. So that way, I'm of the view that the role of the civil society and NGOs needs to be redefined. And there should be, I think, at each district level, at each taluka level, a group of persons who are keeping a close eye as to where and how and what manner who is being subjected to some sort of domestic violence or cruelty, and whether she needs some sort of help or support that has to be provided, right from the counseling to basic legal formalities, access the justice system. That is also very important. And lastly, the education of men and women in such a manner that values with regard to the equality and respect for the dignity of the women are inculcated right from the very beginning, right from the childhood. So both are equally, boy and girl, right from the very beginning. Both are equally, just they understand that there is a dignity and that has to be respected at all costs, and there cannot be any violation. So if that sort of, you see, message goes to the society, right from the beginning, at the educational level, primary educational level, that is definitely bound to help in a magnificent manner. Friends, our society, despite having become a bit modern at, you see, in big cities and towns, is still an orthodox society. It still stipulates a secondary role to the family. And therefore, right from the changing the attitude to educating the people, it is necessary that on each front, in each dimension, the things are reformed so that firstly, the system becomes sensitive to the issue. And secondly, the social response, apart from the legal response, is also very strong, so that those who are just in the you see, psychology of thinking that no, it is something very natural, it happens, it is going on and it will go on, then they will have to change themselves. So I think this is something I wanted to share with all of you on this 25th November, the International Day for Elimination of Cruelty against Women. And in today's this webinar, I particularly focused because there are all sorts of indignities, there are all sorts of cruelties, the incidents of rape are increasing. There we have a law with regard to prevention of feticide, female feticide, PC and P&D Act, and it is there for long, but still female feticide is still in there. We have a law banning child marriage, but still child marriages are there. So we have all type of laws in the system, but then the implementation of the legal regime has not been effective to the extent that we can contain the evil. The graph should go downwards, and the problem is that it is going upward. So if it is going upwards, then it simply shows that the things are not working. And if the things are not working, then as I have already discussed, we know what are the reasons, and we should, on this day, which is there to focus on this very burning issue, and it is a social issue in the sense that if you see, if a female inside the house is not provided full dignity, not respected, then what values she can transmit to the children? So to ensure that the female are having their, enjoying full dignity, we will have to work on all fronts, and rightly that so the things start from the home. सारी चीजें घर से शुरू होती हैं. So therefore, we should, each of us should deep into various aspects of the problem, various dimensions of the problem, and as a duty holder or as a stakeholder or as a member of the civil society or as an officer in the prosecution or police having so many powers, we should not only today on 25th November, on each day till next 25th November 2023, at least give some time to think and remind ourselves that we have to do something each day so that it enhances the dignity of the woman, so that it discourages those who have been in the habit of inflicting violence against. I am really very grateful to the Academy for providing me this wonderful opportunity to share something which was possessed of with all the participants on an issue which is of, utmost importance to the society, to the duty holders, and to the stakeholders. I would convey my gratitude to all the participants who have been silently listening almost for past 1 hour. Basically, such type of webinars are more effective when they are with the congregation and physical presence, but then there are limitations, there are issues. So I think this alternate mode ultimately enables us to communicate with each of you who are sitting the comfort of your office or home. Thank you very much once again. And I think there is a question answer discussion session. I will be happy if more and more participants come out with their doubts or with their ideas or something which can be helpful in improving the overall situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for sparing your valuable time. And now I would like to request all the participants, if they have any query or any suggestions, any doubts, they can consult it with Honorable Justice, sir. So the floor is open for discussion.
Very good morning, sir. This is Manmohan Sharma, Team Commander NSG, sir. I'm from National Security Guard Manesar, sir. Sir, my question pertains to the women which we have in forces, like in Central Paramilitary Forces. There are large number of women who is already serving, and more is supposed to join. Similarly, in the police forces also. So, is there a special law for violence against the women which they are already in the forces, because they have already empowered themselves to sort of come into the force? They are already at certain level, but there are issues. So, is there any separate law for this, or what message would you like to give to this, this women folk who are already in the forces and serving? I rest me, sir. Thank you.
So, I think it is a very pertinent question. You see, more and more female folk are joining the services. As I told you, the last year batch of civil judge, Madhya Pradesh, more than 50% are girls. And with the decision rendered by Honorable the Apex Court, they can also be commission holders in the army. They are in police, and they are needed in police. Because when women with some grievance regarding atrocity, harassment, or violence comes to the police station, if there is a female police officer, she can understand in a better manner the problem. Now, as regards some sort of discrimination, harassment, and violence at workplace, firstly, most of the laws, at least at the legal framework, there is no discrimination. The discrimination is in the practices. After the celebrated judgment of the Apex Court in Visakha's case against harassment of the women at workplace, the Parliament has also legislated a law to prevent harassment of the female employees at workplace, and that is working. You see, entire mechanism is there in the act that if some sort of harassment is there, some sort of violence is there, then that has to be dealt with by way of some departmental action. But still, I feel, as I just shared earlier, that everything is quite good at the paper. But then the implementation is almost very lukewarm in the sense that it rather encourages like-minded persons who are just interested in violating the law. So it should be so stern, so thick, so tough that the tendency to do such type of acts is discouraged. You see, taking one person who has done something wrong or who has just inflicted violence, taking action against him is okay. But what I mean to say that there should be some sort of exemplary way to deal with such a person in a peak manner, so that the other persons who are having that type of psychology, they are discouraged. And that is the deterrent effect of it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It was really very informative and very elaborative, sir. Thank you, sir.
I would like to say something. This is Inspector Sudhir Kumar Chauhan from CIS of RTC Devli. Respected sir, my regards to you. और बहुत अच्छी इन्फॉर्मेशन आपने आज शेयर की इस वीडियो के माध्यम से, इस प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से। उपस्थित सभी लोगों, ये जो 3 बातें हैं जो सर ने हमको एक मोटा मोटी तौर पे बताई हैं, उनको मैं थोड़ा रिपीट करूंगा और एक क्वेश्चन सर से मैं जरूर करूंगा। सबसे पहली बात है, ये जो वायलेंस अगेंस्ट वुमेन है, ये कहाँ से स्टार्ट होता है? आज तक हमारी सोसाइटी में 3 ही जगह है जहां से ये स्टार्ट होता है। पहला है हमारा घर, दूसरा है हमारा एजुकेशन सिस्टम, और तीसरा है सोसाइटी की नॉर्म्स और सोसाइटी के चलने के तरीके पे। तो हमारे देश को आजाद हुए इतने साल हुए, इतनी सारी बातें हुई, हमने एजुकेशन सिस्टम को डेवलप किया, हमने बहुत सारी बातें की, कानून हम जानते हैं, सारी लीगल लायबिलिटीज को हम जानते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी हम क्यों आज भी उस चीज क्षेत्र में पीछे हैं? तो मेरा ये मानना है कि हमारा जो घर है वो सबसे पहली एजुकेशन है, और उस घर में बाहर से भी जो चीजें आती हैं वो उस घर के अंदर से ही चलती हैं। तो सबसे पहले हम अपने घर को सुधारें, उसके बाद हम एजुकेशन सिस्टम में 2 चीजें जरूर डालें, मॉरल एजुकेशन, और जैसे यूरोपियन कंट्री में एजुकेशन सिस्टम को बनाया गया है कि वहाँ एक दूसरे की डिग्निटी को मेंटेन करने के उनके सारे तरीके, उनको सारी बातें बचपन से ही बच्चों को सिखाई जाती है। और नंबर 3 हमारी जो सोसाइटी की नॉर्म्स है। अब आते हैं कानून के ऊपर। देश के अंदर कानून बना है, लेकिन वो हमारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम में वो कानून है नहीं। तो क्यों ना हम उस छोटे छोटे कानून को, छोटी छोटी चीजों को हम अपने एजुकेशन सिस्टम में डालें और उनका एग्जाम भी बच्चों को लें, ताकि उनको अपने राइट्स पता लग पाए। आज भी पुलिस जब किसी को अरेस्ट करती है तो उसको ये पता नहीं होता है कि वो अरेस्ट क्यों हो रहा है, चाहे वो वुमेन हो चाहे वो मैन हो, वो कानून का उतना नॉलेज रखता ही नहीं है। तो क्यों ना हम ये सारा सिस्टम हम अपनी एजुकेशन में डालें। आज से हम इसको स्टार्ट करेंगे तो आने वाले फ्यूचर में हम, उम्मीद है कि जब सबको कानून का ज्ञान होगा, सबको नॉलेज होगी, तो वो अपने राइट्स को समझेगा और जानेगा। पैरामिलिट्री फोर्सेस में जो महिलाएं आज शामिल हैं और बड़े स्तर पर हैं, आदमियों से मैन टू मैन कंधा मिला के वो चलती है और अपने सिस्टम को चलाती है, काम करती है। मैं उन सबको अप्रिशिएट करता हूँ और तहे दिल से धन्यवाद देता हूँ कि वो सारे चीज करें। और मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था सर कि क्या कभी हमारी जुडिशरी ने या क्या कभी भारत सरकार ने इन तमाम बातों पे कोई गौर किया है कि हमारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम में मॉरल एजुकेशन और कानून की नॉलेज डालने की कोई प्रक्रिया या कभी किसी प्लेटफॉर्म पे कोई बात हुई है? क्या इसके बारे में कुछ प्रकाश डालेंगे सर?
जी देखिए, ऐसा है, आपने जो बात बताई कि हमें शुरुआत घर से करनी चाहिए। ये घर से शुरुआत करने की बात इसलिए महत्वपूर्ण है कि जो फर्स्ट वैल्यूज ट्रांसफर होती हैं बच्चे में, स्कूल कम्स एट द सेकंड प्लेस। फर्स्ट वैल्यूज आर ट्रांसफर्ड बाय द पेरेंट्स, बाय द एल्डर ब्रदर्स, सिस्टर्स, फैमिली मेंबर्स। तो दिस इज, यू सी, जैसे कहते हैं ना कि जो बीज जैसा हमने उस समय बो दिया, अगर हम ये देख रहे हैं घर में कि कुछ मेंबर्स के साथ में लगातार ऐसा व्यवहार हो रहा है विच इज क्लियरली अमाउंट्स टू वायलेंस, तो फिर बच्चे के मन में क्या होगा? बच्चा जो है, यू सी द चिल्ड्रन आर वेरी वेरी टेंडर and they are very sensitive. Initially, they don't take these things, they don't accept these things. But then if it just goes on 1 month, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, then they just collect a, you see, idea that no, it is usual, it is normal, happens so. So we should not allow to grow such type of psychology that it is usual and it is normal and it is happy. And there the household is the first place and where such type of values has to be given. And when the child goes to the school, now it is lot of stress is on the learning and learning and learning, and less stress on moral values and social values. So that I think that should be a issue which the educationists and the policy planners, they should think, because we have to inculcate those values right in the very, you see, beginning. Then it is going to help. You see, after 15, 16 years, when one has attained the 15 years, 16 years, then the values are not going to change much. So if, as I think, in judiciary, we never discuss and talk about the education. And obviously for the reason that we have no role. We can't do anything. And if we just start preaching and teaching about the educational system, then one is bound to say that please just take care of your own home. Please take care of your judiciary. do whatever you can for the judiciary. Use this area for the educationists.
को जाबो
Ye.
रामेश्वर है
Other participants, please mute their mic.
रामेश्वर रामेश्वर
Thank you so much, sir. It my regards to you and all the senior authorities available on this Cisco WebEx meeting. And thankful to you for sharing all the information, sir. Regards, my. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. So, other participants, I think there should be few other questions.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Deputy Commandant Kavyanjali from National Industrial Security, Hyderabad. I have some questions to you, sir.
Yes.
So first of all, as we say that justice delayed is justice denied. Sir, what about women seeking justice in rape cases and sexual harassment cases? What will motivate them to lodge the complaints when the process takes so long?
The question is that the justice delivery system is clogged with so many problems. You see, during past 4, 5, 6 years, maybe I can say last 10 years, at the trial court level, there has been expeditious disposal of cases. We have 2 or 3 cases where the foreign tourists were raped, and the decision was rendered by the court within 1 month or 2 months. So, as I understand, I have been in the administrative capacity as well as Registrar General, and I was just having the opportunity to go through the statistics relating to disposal of cases and offences against women, particularly rape cases. And in Madhya Pradesh, it is, I think, quite satisfactory. At the national level, there may be some issues here and there, but then the judiciary at the grassroots level is trying its best. But at High Court level, the problem is there that there are very few judges. And the number of cases, there are huge number of cases. And the Supreme Court has been repeatedly requesting the government that please increase the number of judges. You see, now a judge is having 7,000 cases in the Madhya Pradesh High Court. So how a High Court judge can handle 7,000 cases? So therefore, because we have to address the problem in a realistic manner. So because of the various state governments have just taken a very keen interest in enhancing the strength of judges at the district level and taluka level, the impact is very much there. The cases are being disposed of within a period of 6 months, 1 year. Particularly rape cases are being disposed of within 5 months, 6 months to a year. So if that also happens at the higher level, because a session judge decides the case, he convicts the person, and in High Court the appeal cannot be heard for 5 or 10 years. So that ultimately just has the very adverse effect. So I agree with you that there should be an effort, and that's why I just included this, that this delay in justice robs it of all its charm and glory and quality. If justice is not timely, then it is almost perpetuation of injustice. And if timely justice is there, then definitely those who suffer will be encouraged. You see, there is I just talked about the entire system, and system is not very friendly to the victims. So we should make all-out effort right from the level when the victim goes to the police station to lodge the report about the incident. Right from that point till at every level, you see, the victim support compensation scheme is also there. But then all things happen in such a slow manner and in such a way that the real impact just loses all its effect.
So then what is there to motivate women to lodge the report and report the crimes? Because women do question these things, that it will take a long time and repeatedly questions will be asked. in the courts and everywhere. So they'll have to relive the situation, the incident. So what is the motivation that can be provided to women to
You
lodge?
see what has been done. Each high court in every state, they have as a matter of policy, they have decided that the cases with relating to this rape, etc., they should be tried as far as possible by a female judge. And we, at least in the district judiciary in each and every state, we have good number of female judges. And as a matter of policy, such cases are being handled by the female judges. And that, I think, gives a lot of protection to the victim. And secondly, there are this National Judicial Academy at Bhopal. Each state is having a judicial academy. And in the in-house discussion, judges are just talking about the issue that how do you see when there is a victim, and when again the questions are put in the court, which are almost very, harassing questions, then it is secondary victimization. So we in the academies and at individual level, we are talking about that how to contain this secondary victimization within the framework of law. In Indian Evidence Act, Section 151 and 152 are there. They just empower the court that any indecent or insulting question should not be asked to any witness what to say of victim of this sexual offense. So it is for the judges that they should be little more careful. And what happens, sometimes the questions are being asked and judges are not totally focused on the issue. So that amounts to some sort of harassment. I have been director of the State Judicial Academy for pretty good years. And I still go to the National Judicial Academy, and I always share my views with the judges that please just try to utilize the provisions of law and see that the victim is not just subjected to secondary harassment.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I have one more query. Sir, as a member of Central Paramilitary Forces, sir, we don't have jurisdiction about violence, about laws for women against violence, domestic violence, etc., sir. So what should we do when, sir, even wives of our personnel do approach us citing violence by their husbands? So, sir, we are very sensitive to all this, sir, but whenever we try to motivate them to approach protection officers and the local police, they are not motivated enough and they just want the department to handle all this, sir. What can be done at that level?
Two things are there. First, the issue of harassment within the department. And for that, I think under the statutory mandate, committees are there in each of the department to handle the issues of such harassment to the female employee. And when it comes to the support, legal support, when you see if the lady officers and even the male officers in any department, including paramilitary force, if they constitute small groups, you see ideal groups, not that under some legal mandate. You see a support group may be there. I was talking about the role of the civil society. Every person, be is an IPS officer, IAS officer, or a judge, is a member of the society. And that is part of the civil society. So we can just make informal groups in each of the department that if any such problem is communicated to this group, then they should support that lady in a manner that they can arrange for some legal advice, some legal support. And that way, I think there are ways and means to help the person. But you see, what happens that if something is happening against with our colleague, then we all are rather just relishing it. Okay, अच्छा हुआ, मजा तो आ रहा है, परेशान तो हो रहे हैं, बहुत वो करते थे. This mentally has to be said away. We should have a holistic approach that there is a group. If any person is complaining about any sort of domestic violence, harassment, this is the first thing that is how she can be supported socially, psychologically, and legally. You see, if you just support psychologically, if you just share the problem, that is the first relief. If you further say that, okay, we will see how we can go and help you, that is something very strong, and that will motivate such persons to seek some such type of redress.
Sir, but the ladies don't want to approach the local police. They want the paramilitary, the CISF or any other force officers to handle their grievances at their level. They don't. When we give them support, okay, we'll give the staff and we will give the vehicle. We will help you to approach the Mahila Thana for the same. They don't want that because they think that their husband's job will suffer because of that. So they don't want to go to that level. So what can we do in this case, sir?
You see, when we have to eradicate a social evil, opposite is a social evil. Because when 37% of the married women suffer from domestic violence, then we can't say that it is something it's a social evil. So if such social evil there, we have to change the setup. So in that way, first we have to change our attitude. We just keep on thinking that ऐसा हो जाएगा पति के साथ, the husband is responsible because he is doing something which is prohibited by law, which is against law. So if just he is going to somehow, so I said that first psychological support should be there, then social support in the sense that the other one who is perpetuating the violence, he comes to know that there is some departmental support. There is a group of members of the department who are supporting. So definitely that will bring some change. And you see, ultimately we have a scheme, how the law and order has to be maintained and how the law has to be implemented. And in that scheme, the police comes into picture. I think in every district there is a Mahila police. And that has been created only for the reason that those who are victims of violence of any sort at any level, they can frankly just communicate with the female police officers about their tragic whatever incident. So we have to take one or two steps forward, because if we just continue to think that नहीं इससे तो ऐसा हो जाएगा वैसा हो जाएगा, तो we will remain in the same block from which we want to just get out. That is the way.
Thank you very much, sir.
So any other question?
Participants, if you have any questions, you can raise. Otherwise, we will conclude this program. Any questions?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon.
This is Assistant Commandant from SISF Madhya Pradesh, Sophia.
Right.
SISF, State Industrial Security Force.
जी.
सर, मैं ये जानना चाहती थी कि जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के गाइडलाइंस हैं, लॉज रिलेटिंग. Am I audible? Hello.
You are audible, but your video is off, I think.
Okay. Let me check.
Yeah.
So my question is, laws relating to working women. Some senior officer has asked this question. I just wanted to tell that there is a law, there is an act regarding the prohibition of sexual harassment of women at workplace, 2013. Which states that each and every office should have one ICC, this Internal Complaints Committee. But I see many offices these days, they don't have such committee. So is there any agency who is monitoring the guidelines of the Supreme Court, whether implemented or not properly by the offices, to have this ICC, the Internal Complaints Committee at workplace?
You see, there is a child and women department in every government.
Sir.
And I think it is their obligation, rather it is a duty that they should collect all the information that whether the committee has been constituted or not, if committee has been constituted, who are the office bearers of the committee, how many complaints have come during a year, what has happened to those complaints. All such type of statistical details should be solicited from each department, from each district. So that there should be a check and balance system, but I don't think that such
So no such
information
system is running. No such system is running.
It
I've
should
seen
be
in
there.
other
It should
states
be
also.
there. If I had an occasion, I will just speak to, at least in Madhya Pradesh, to the concerned principal secretary, to the principal secretary law. I will communicate that there should be a system where all the information is periodically collected from each department. And I think that should be the job of this Department of Women and Child.
Sir, thank you so much.
Ji. So any other question? Please be frank. Come out if any doubt or query is there, or even if there is a suggestion that can benefit all the participants. Please share. No question.
Sir, I have a question with regard to Domestic Violence Act. Am I audible?
आप कहाँ से बोल रहे हैं?
जम्मू कश्मीर.
Switch on your video.
पार्टिसिपेंट जो भी प्रश्न करते हैं कृपया अपने वीडियो को ऑन कर लें ताकि सर देख सकें और प्रश्न को बेहतर तरीके से समझ सकें.
जी.
अनम्यूट करें अपने आप को, फिर प्रश्न पूछें. जी.
Am I audible now?
Yeah. Now you are audible as well as visible.
Sir, actually, as far as I have read Domestic Violence Act, there is a provision that if a woman is married and she is putting up with her in-laws, then if some dispute arises between husband and wife, the woman has a right to stay in the matrimonial home.
थोड़ा बाहर ले आने की जगह ना अंदर इसमें दौड़ गई. नहीं, ये थोड़ा घास भी ठीक रहेगा.
हाँ बस.
अब ग्राउंड जो बढ़िया कलर मरवा देंगे.
Please repeat your question.
ग्राउंड में दौड़ सकता है.
And the others can unmute themselves. And please let him put the question. हम बोलिए मुदस्सर जी. या दोबारा बताइए आप. There was some disturbance in between, so I could not just follow the question in its entirety. Please repeat your question.
हामिद साहब दोबारा बोलिएगा प्रश्न को आपके जरा.
Sir, under Domestic Violence Act, there is a provision that if there is a dispute between husband and wife, and she is putting up in her matrimonial home, which is in the name of her father-in-law, the father-in-law cannot evict her. She has a right under Domestic Violence Act to stay in her matrimonial home. Is it not the violation of the proprietary rights of the father-in-law?
Ji, this is your question.
Yes, sir, this is the question. So, what was the legislative intent of framing of this provision in the Act?
So should we discuss about the problems of the father-in-law? We are here to focus on the problem of the married woman.
Both, sir, because this issue is infringing the right of the father in his proprietary rights.
Okay, you see, under the Domestic Violence Act, there is the expression shared household. And shared household, if the premise comes within this definition of shared household, so then
चला गया ना, सारे चला गए. देखो एक भी नहीं है मैसेज.
Right, sir.
ये भाई दोनों हैं.
Hello. So this shared household, that is at least if the husband is having some share in the house. So if it is not the exclusive property of the father-in-law, then the wife has the right to stay in the house. At the same time, she can demand that some other facilities should be provided for her stay. But then the Supreme Court had said very clearly that if it is the exclusive property of the household, of the father-in-law, then he cannot be compelled. Exclusive property of the father-in-law means that self-acquired property of the father-in-law. If it is the ancestral property of the father-in-law, then the son has a right from the birth. And if son, who is the husband, has a right from the wife, then wife is also have a right to be is there in the house because that is no. But if the house is the exclusive self-acquired property of the father-in-law, then of course the husband, the wife may not claim any residence. It has been laid down by the Supreme Court also. So shared household will be that household in which the husband is having some interest, proprietary interest. If there is no proprietary interest, then definitely the wife cannot just compel the father-in-law to just allow her to stay there. But then she can compel the husband that he should provide some alternate residence. So for that, a residence order can be passed by the court. Is it clear? Am I clear to you? Amiji, am I clear to you?
Exactly, sir. I understood. Wonderfully said, sir. It's clear now.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other question? So I think there are no more questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to request our Assistant Director, Admin Shri Mulchal, sir, to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of all the participants and CABT. Respected, sir.
Thank you, Prakash. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
First of all, I would like to extend my thanks and heartfelt gratitude to respected Shri Pawan Srivastav, IPS Director, Central Academy for Police Training, for giving an opportunity to all of us in organizing such lecture series on topics which are important not only for the elements of law enforcement agencies, but also for the society and community. I also express my gratitude to Honorable Justice Shri Ved Prakash Sharma, sir, to spare his valuable time and enlighten the participants regarding the aim to mobilize all society to become activists for the prevention of violence against women, to stand in solidarity with women's rights, and to support feminist protection around the country to resist the rollback on women's rights and calling for a society free from violence against women and girls. I also thanks and congratulate Mr. Prakash Badolia in organizing the event successfully. A word of thanks to the IT team of this academy who were active behind the scenes.
Sir, please unmute yourself, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
I express my gratitude to Honorable Justice Shri Ved Prakash Sharma, sir, to spare his valuable time and enlighten the participants regarding the rights of women and rights and solidarity with the women's right, and to support feminist protection around the country to resist the rollback on women's right and calling for a society free from violence against women. I also thanks and congratulate Mr. Prakash Badolia in organizing the event successfully. Thanks to IT team of this academy who were active behind the scenes but making this lecture series a flawless success. At last, I would like to thank to all the departments and participants for joining online in this important lecture series. Thanks to all. Thank you, Prakash.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And so that's all from our side for today. See you soon in some other training activities or some lecture series. So till then, have a great day. See you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Many thanks, sir.
Thank you, 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 sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.